Warner? Ooh, Warner. I'm a Warner girly. I am a Warner girly. It did not take long.
Many unbearable hours later.
Warner's just really going downhill for me, you know? I'm not having a good time with Warner anymore, man. Kenji is the superior male character. He is such an alien. He's never seen a movie. I just don't like Warner. I don't know. I'm not seeing the book boyfriend obsession. Kenji, though. Ooh, Kenji. Oh my god, I love him. He's just gross. Like, I really don't like Warner. He said his heart has grown 10 sizes in the last minute. Warner is the Grinch. No, he's not. The Grinch is so much better. Warner again was reminding me of an alien. Someone asked what the dog's name is, and he says he is a dog. You may call him a dog. Like, it costs $0 not to be so off-putting. He's a little insufferable in the mind. Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I like to post about books and music, mostly Taylor Swift. So today's video is part 2 of my Shatter Me reading vlog. So this is going to have everything from Restore Me on to the end. If you want to watch part 1, I will link it right here. There will be timestamps down below if you want to skip around to certain books or novellas. And I think that's about all. We're just going to get right into this. Okay, so I'm about to start Restore Me, the 4th full-length novel. I just remembered we don't really know what happened with Warner's mom. Like, we didn't see a body, and Anderson would have been the only one to have answers, but they just killed him at the end of Ignite Me. I feel like they're gonna get answers about his mom somehow, but I can't predict how exactly that's gonna happen. Who would know anything? They'd have to uncover more about Warner's father, like a side to him that Warner didn't know about or something. I don't know. Or like people who know him or who knew him that Warner never met. Yeah, there are a few unanswered questions, even though it did seem to tie up pretty nicely because it was the original ending all those years ago. Okay, let's see. I hope it's even better than the last one because it's starting to get good. Okay, it is the next day. If you see a stain on my shirt, it's from my Chipotle. I think it's out of frame, but if I'm moving and you see a stain, mind your business. Okay, so I've been listening to the audiobook of this one because I have like things I need to do that don't require brain power, but they require me to be not able to look at a text, like it's a sacred text. You know, stuff that keeps my hands and eyes busy, but not necessarily my brain. So I've been listening to the audiobook, but I also read a few chapters physically. I'm going so much faster when I'm able to find an audiobook just because I'm able to like not stop reading even when I have things to do. This is some wild shit. I took some notes. Okay, so first of all, I was wrong. Anderson was not the leader of like the entire world. He was just the leader of North America. Every continent has their own supreme commander. Hopefully I clarify this before people are in the comments like, you have this wrong, you didn't pay attention enough. But yeah, he was just the leader of North America. I was under the impression he was the leader of the entire world, and it was like a very homogenous thing. But yeah, he was in control of, I think it's like 500 and something different sectors in North America. So that's still huge, but like it's not as global as I initially thought. And of course that's where Juliet runs into some problems because obviously she has to make nice with these other commanders of the other continents. Warner is not telling her shit, and that's making me very frustrated and not liking Warner as much. Like, Adam is still trash. He's just not been nice to her. He's weird. He has such a weird energy now. I almost feel like Adam's gonna become a villain. Is he gonna do something even worse to her? I feel like he's gonna betray her in some way now, and I previously didn't think that, but now I'm a little scared of him. But Warner's pissing me off too. He's very controlling. He always was from the start, and I think he evolved a little bit in the sense that Juliet made him let loose. Like, he has a very rigid personality. We saw that in his novella. He loves his routines. He cannot deviate from things like that. He actually was talking in this book a little bit because this one has his POV too. So we see Juliet and Warner, and it alternates, and that's really nice. But Warner himself was even saying he needed to go through cognitive behavioral therapies before. I think he has OCD, but it's just not been stated. He just strikes me as a character who is affected by that. I actually read a ton of books last year with characters with OCD, and I did a whole ranking video on that. I'll link it in the eye. But yeah, and that's not to say he's like irredeemable because he has OCD or anything like that, because I kind of see myself a little bit in Warner, like this very type A type of personality, even if he is someone who does not have OCD. It's not to say he's irredeemable, it's just he needs a little more therapy. He doesn't have access to actual therapy. I think he was just kind of doing things on his own. I think he needs a little bit more help, but yeah, he's still like controlling this inflow of information that he should be giving to Juliet, and he's not, and it's just, I kind of saw this coming. It's just his type of personality, and the fact that he probably probably needs therapy. That's it. Kenji is so funny all of the time. I took note on this one thing he said because Juliet feels super self-conscious about being the Supreme Commander, and all of these Supreme Commanders, like kids, are trying to like scope out what's happening in North America and send word back to their parents, the Supreme Commanders of their continents. So Juliet was feeling self-conscious. She's younger than all of the Supreme Commanders. She's short, like physically small, and she was talking to Kenji and she was like, I just feel too small, too short. And Kenji said Napoleon was short, and Juliet was like, Napoleon was awful, and Kenji was like, but he was very effective. Honestly, yeah. Little man syndrome has gotten so many mediocre men far. A tiny girl can do the same. You know what I mean? Especially when she has good intentions. Just fake it till you make it. Odds are you're not gonna fuck up like a lot of world leaders have. Kenji had a love interest, very briefly, but then got rejected. It wasn't like a love interest, he just had a crush. He finally had a moment where he had someone he was interested in. It didn't end up working out. It was actually the daughter of the Supreme Commander of Asia. She visited Juliet in North America with her younger brother. Her name is Nazira, and I love her character. She's like brilliant and intimidating and super tall. I feel like she would be such a good ally, but I don't trust her. I really don't. I feel like she's a villain. And I love that they describe her as tall. She's probably taller than Warner. I'm taller than Warner. We got more Kenji backstory. We got more Warner and Juliet backstory as well. A lot of Warner and Juliet backstory. We got like a little bit about Kenji's parents and what happened there. Okay, so this whole thing about Juliet having a sister who was unknowingly tortured by Warner, their biological parents were like batshit reestablishment fanatics who handed their daughters over to the government. Juliet didn't show powers, but her sister did, so they placed Juliet into some adoptive family and destroyed Juliet's memories, so that's why the only thing she can remember is being with this family, who she thinks is her biological parents, and how they were mistreating her, but they're not even biologically related to her. I feel like this could have not cured, but like given her some hope, knowing that they weren't her actual parents. I don't know. So she ended up developing powers while she was living with this family, and then that's where her memory starts, and it's interesting that that environment brought out her powers. I'm still a little bit confused on that. I feel like I need a little more background information, but Warner just told her all of this that he'd been keeping from her. This is what I mean, like the controlling of the information. He should have told her this a long time ago, but he wanted to like control the narrative, control the progression of the relationship, and you just can't do that. Like you cannot keep someone's past from them. Meanwhile, Juliet got shot. I feel like it was Nazira. My money's on Nazira, but Nazira saved her, and they supposedly have the perpetrator, the guy who actually shot Juliet, and they put him in like jail on base or something. As far as I know, I might have this wrong because I literally just, that was like the last chapter I read. She basically got shot because Warner won't tell her shit. Like he's just not being as supportive and making the severity of the situation as clear to her as he initially was. So that's really disappointing. Warner's just really going downhill for me, you know? Yeah, that's about as far as I got. Those are all the notes I have. And now I'm gonna keep reading and I'll probably finish this tonight. Thank God for audiobooks, because I would not have made this much of a dent in this yesterday if not for listening to the audiobook while I was getting shit done. I think I was wrong about Nazira. She's a bad bitch. She's a bad bitch. She has powers. She can fly. Juliet doesn't feel like she can trust anyone. She's unsure if Kenji even knew about her sister and like her actual past. And Nazira shows up and Juliet remembers her telling her while she was in the medical wing. Nazira was warning her. She was like, the people you trust are lying to you and the other Supreme Commanders just want to kill you. But she was the daughter of a Supreme Commander. She's a rebel. She's a rebel. That's why she was wearing the, I forgot what it's called. I feel like there are different names for it in different languages, but like the headscarf that is symbolic of a religion that got destroyed by the reestablishment. And Kenji was like, isn't that illegal? And she was like, mind your own business. Oh my god, finally a good female friendship. I'm so excited. I love Nazira. God, she better not be awful because everyone's turning out to be awful. I wonder if she's gonna like take refuge in Adam now. Is it gonna be like a back and forth thing again where she goes back to Adam because he didn't know about her past and she's gonna like trust him again? She shouldn't though, because he said awful things about her. Oh my god, I hope it's just like a girl power friendship Nazira thing from now on. Yep, Warner is seriously pissing me off. He even lied about being with anybody before Juliet, and Nazira is his ex-girlfriend. Juliet's gonna find out from her, and she's gonna be even more pissed at Warner. And then when Kenji is like, I don't understand why you didn't tell her, why were you lying to her? And he said, I never lied to her about any of this, she never asked. What the fuck? What a fuckboy. To be like, well, you never asked. Oh my god. Like, withholding information and lying are the same thing. What? What's wrong with him? Nope, it's even better. It's even juicier. Nazira is not his ex-girlfriend. His ex-girlfriend is the daughter of the Supreme Commander of of Europe, and she's coming, I guess. Her name's Lena, and they were together for 2 fucking years, and Warner never said anything to her, and Nazira's telling her all of this. Also, Nazira can fly. I don't know if I said that. She has a superpower, so yeah, she's like a rebel. I wonder if she's hiding it from her father and her brother. That'd be so interesting. I want Nazira POV. I love her. But then Juliet asks when Warner and Lena broke up, and Nazira says like 8 months ago. You're kidding. Less than a year ago? That is so messed up. He's such a liar. And Lena knew about Juliet and heard that Warner had fallen for her, and she was so offended because Juliet was like fresh out of a mental asylum. And Juliet puts it into words so well. It makes me feel strange and foreign, like a specimen in a tank, like my life was never my own, like I'm an actor in a play directed by strangers, and I feel an exhalation of Arctic wind blow steadily into my chest, a bitter breeze circling my heart, and I close my eyes as frostbite eases my pain, its icy hands closing around the wounds festering in my flesh. That's so sad. Warner like knew all this shit. He knew her background, but she didn't know his. It feels like she's his pawn or something. So Juliet finds out all the other leaders want to kill her, and everyone she thought she could trust she actually can't, so her solution is to get shit-faced. She moves out of Warner's room and completely into Anderson's old quarters. She finds all his alcohol, takes off all her clothes, shaves her head like full-on Britney Spears 2007 meltdown, and gets shit-faced. And Kenji and Warner break into her room, her quarters. I guess it's like a lot of rooms. They find her like half naked, passed out on this chair, and Warner like puts her in the shower. And because she's drunk, she's like, I love you, I miss you, and she's begging him to like join her. Hi, princess. It's getting juicy. So she begs him to join her, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna take advantage of this, isn't he? But he doesn't. So 1 point to Warner, but he's still trash. Also, yeah, Juliet's not a very good leader. It seems she completely reverted back to her past self with this betrayal, which makes sense, but like, now that she knows people want to kill her, she can't trust anyone, she decides to get drunk, shave her head, and get freaking half naked. That's not the solution to this. Oh my god, to make yourself vulnerable like that is insane. Like, lock yourself in your room and like, come up with a plan. Jesus Christ. I have less than 80 pages left, and it is such a shit show. We are back to how Juliet was in the beginning. If you remember this little number, Warner needs to brief her on this symposium event. I'm not sure what a symposium is. I guess we're about to find out. The symposium is less than 12 hours away, where she's supposed to address all leaders of North America, like all the other 254 sectors. The other leaders, I think all the children of the other supreme commanders on other continents will be there. She's gonna be fucking hungover for the first time in her life. She's such a train wreck. She's bald.
Oh my gosh! She's bald!
Oh my god, what are they gonna do? Maybe she'll look more intimidating being bald, because they were not taking her seriously because she was like pretty and like small. But if she looks a little unhinged, maybe that's for the better. But oh my god, this is like a train wreck. I can't look away. I don't understand how it's gonna wrap up nicely in 80 pages. I'm assuming this is the start of like a mega shit show that's gonna take place over the next few full-length novels. I'm so nervous for her. Okay, she's sober now, or as sober as she can be, and she doesn't regret the hair, and she wants to dress like a bad bitch. She's thinking about all the other times in her life she wanted to minimize herself and appear innocent and harmless because everyone thought she was a monster. And now she's like, I actually need to look like a monster now.
She's bald and she's torturing people who have hair.
Because otherwise they're gonna think I'm easy to kill. She needs to like fake it till she makes it. And she's laughing about how she used to think. I tried so badly to appease the assholes who judged me without knowing me that I lost myself in the process. But now I laugh out loud. Now I don't give a shit. And that's the end of that chapter. Maybe I need to have more faith in her. Warner sees her for the first time after this whole mental break. Still beautiful, but sharper. Harder. She's not a girl with a ponytail and a pink sweater anymore. No, she looks a great deal more like the young woman who murdered my father and then drank 4 fingers of his most expensive scotch. Oh my god. Character development. She like regressed, but it was like a slingshot. She pulled back to like shoot forward. I'm so intrigued. 60 pages left. So as it turns out, Lena is a transphobe, and Juliet put her in her place. As she should. I'm living for this. The drama. The Supreme Commander of South America has a daughter who's trans. Her name is Valentina. Oh my god, and Lena's being transphobic. Well, she's Russian. What do we expect? It's okay, let her talk. Lena thinks I like to pretend, but I won't be pretending. And then she says this in Spanish, and I googled what it means. I won't be pretending when I hang her dead body in my room, I think is what she's saying. T. Okay. Okay, she's back to understanding that she can trust Kenji. He didn't know anything about this. He would have told her. He's good and Nazira's good, and that's all I care about right now. She has a plan to kill everyone who wants to kill her, and we love to see it. I wonder if she does that by the end of this book. I'm falling asleep. because I'm just so dead tired. But this is getting crazy. I have like 10 pages left. Hello, princess. She just killed like everyone. The whole room of like 500 and something people who were there for the symposium. She just like sliced them all in half with her mind. And now some weird shit is happening. Brenton is dead. Lily, Ian, and Aaliyah, who I thought was going to be Adam's love interest. She killed them all. Castle's unconscious on the floor, blood running freely from his chest. Warner's on his knees, his hands cuffed behind his back. And then she realizes she's actually lying on the ground paralyzed. Her arms and legs are bound by pulsing electric wires. She says, my powers have been extinguished. I look up at these strangers, eyes wide and terrified. Who are you? I say again, still raging against my restraints. What do you want from me? I'm the Supreme Commander of Oceania, the woman says to me, smiling. Your father and I have come to take you home. Are her parents the government of that continent? Like Australia? What the hell? Oh my god, was it a lie? Are they actually like good? Your father and I have come to take you home? No, because they're part of the reestablishment. Shit, I don't want her to get locked up again. I'm sick of her being locked up. I don't like what it does to her mental state. But I guess this is her opportunity to save her sister. But why did she just kill everyone? Come on. It says Warner and it's just this. That's it. What the hell? In conclusion, this is sick and fucking twisted. Warner is such a piece of shit. She gets taken back to New Zealand is where her parents are from. And like they're being nice to her, so maybe we don't have as much information as we think we do. But they have her like chained up so she can't use her powers. Which on one hand I understand because she just accidentally killed a room full of 500 plus people. So it's like obviously she needs more training to get this under control. But she's looking through all these old photographs. She discovers her name is actually Ella. Her parents' last name is Summer, so I'm assuming that's her last name. And as she's looking through these goddamn photographs, she finds pictures of her with Nazira, which makes sense. Nazira was like, you really don't remember me, do you? So Nazira was being honest with her, and then she also finds pictures of her as a child with Aaron Warner. Oh my god. And he just like didn't say anything to her. They were like childhood friends, and he was just like, oh, her memory's been, what word did they use? Expunged? Eliminated? Wiped? Whatever. This is fucked. He didn't say anything to her. There are literally pictures existing of them together when they were 5. He like is so manipulative and calculated. I'm not having a good time with Warner anymore, man. I'm not enjoying this. I feel so bad for Juliet. I feel depressed, borderline, like it's affecting my mental state. This is so bad. I'm anxious. This was probably a 3-star. I liked the last one better because it was more hopeful, but this is terrible. Like everything's going wrong and I just don't feel good. Probably 3 stars. The writing is a lot better. Like it's interesting. It's a page turner, but it's just fucking depressing. Man, it's one step forward and like a million steps back every single time. You think she's improving or her mental state is getting better and now she's like fucking captured again. I'm so tired of her being captured. Okay, this is next. It's a novella. Whose point of view is it? If it's Warner, I'm gonna lose my shit. Is it Kenji? It is Kenji! Okay, at least we have that. Kenji. I love Kenji. He's the only guy Juliet should trust. Warner's still, he's just like such a cardboard man right now. Like all he cared about was like protecting James, which makes sense. He's just so tired of everything that he like barely was even appearing in this book. He like was not helpful with anything. He was just staying back in safety with James because he's all James has, so it like makes sense, but it's just, he's not even like a secondary character anymore. He's like non-existent, which is fine because he was really pissing me off. Okay, next one I guess. I'm so over this. I took a nap and I had a revelation while I was asleep that Warner and Castle in particular are giving Dumbledore right now. Like, they're supposedly here to help Juliet be the Supreme Commander. And they're just not telling her shit. Like, it just reminds me so much of especially like the early Harry Potter book where Harry would like do the best he could with the information that he had and Dumbledore would be like, oh my god, I didn't tell you about this. And like, that was the vessel with which to push the plot forward. Okay, here we are again. It is the next day. It is a new stained shirt. I cannot stop myself from spilling food on my clothes. Yesterday, I ended up finishing Shadow Me, Kenji's novella. It was only 70 pages. I just quickly kind of went through it and I wrote down a few notes. Okay, so Kenji is like a hopeless romantic, giving his inner perspective. He's also horny as hell, but like his motivations are not like, he seems like someone who needs to be very romantically into someone to have those thoughts. But once he has a romantic attraction, boy, does he have those thoughts. He was literally like, I just know I have this capacity capacity to love someone so intensely, and I want to be able to do that so badly. He said he wishes he could be like Adam and find this fulfillment in love with family. Obviously, we heard what happened to his parents in the last book, so he doesn't have any family. Or he wants to be cold like Warner, except like Warner is kind of a simp for Juliet, but like also controlling as hell, and I don't think I like him that much anymore. Anyways, Kenji is the superior male character, and he has a crush on Nazira, and I'm so into it. And it might just be like his perspective influencing me, but like there was a little more information coming out about who shot Juliet with the poison bullets. Nazira did save her, like I do trust her now. It could be just me seeing her through Kenji's eyes, but man, he is like in deep with this girl. It is insane. And Nazira was mad at him and confronted him because he can go invisible too. She can not only fly but also go invisible. I forgot to mention that. And she's like pissed that he has the same power as her. She's like, I need to be the only one who has this power. And it's such a funny confrontation, and Kenji is like enamored with her and she's like fuming, and it's just a really interesting dynamic. Kenji is kind of ditzy now that we see his thoughts. He's not always the brightest light bulb in Sector 45. He was like really stressed out about Juliet not acting like herself when she was addressing the children of the other commanders. It's like, obviously she has to put up a front. Like, she can't seem like this very empathetic, emotional, weak person. She has to have a hard exterior. Like, he wasn't computing. He was like, oh my god, she's a changed person. And then when she was talking to him one-on-one, she was herself again, and he's like, oh my god, thank god she's the same. Like, does he not understand she has to like put a mask on? So he seemed a little ditzy in that regard, but he was like, I don't like how she isn't herself around the other people. She obviously has to be hardened. This novella takes place pretty much at the same time as all of the last like few chapters of the last full-length novel, so we see everything through his eyes. However, that does not clear shit up. Like, it's still just as confusing as it was before, so I'm really excited to get into Defy Me, because I need answers. But basically, Kenji finds out that those poison bullets that Juliet was shot with by that one soldier that Nazira, like, captured, they're making her hallucinate, and we did get a hint to that in the last book when Sonia and Sarah were treating Juliet and they realized she was having hallucinations. She thought it was Sunny when it wasn't. And we do determine at the end of this novella that it was definitely a hallucination, those 600 people who died suddenly, 500, 600 people. But Kenji saw the hallucination too, so that couldn't have been her poisoned bullets because he was affected by it as well, and he like blacked out in the same way that Juliet did when Juliet got like kidnapped by her parents, who are the commanders of Oceania, I guess. It just doesn't clear anything up. Like, I was thinking, oh, he's gonna watch her get snatched and we're gonna figure out more about how this happened and why everybody thought everyone was dead, but it doesn't clear a single thing up. So I don't really understand the point of this novella. It doesn't clear a whole lot up. I feel like there's maybe just like a little bit more information we get that Juliet didn't know or Warner didn't know because the last novel was split POV. I have so many questions. I feel like the author did that intentionally, so we would not get answers until the next full-length novel. I did really like seeing how his thought process works though. He's super romantic, super ditzy, and so funny. Oh my god, his jokes, his entire internal monologue. His internal monologue is so loud. Everything he says feels so strong. Like, he just has a very strong voice as a character, and god, he's funny. Okay, I'm gonna start on this. Probably won't finish it today, but hopefully some of my questions are answered. I've heard this is a lot of just like general flashbacks from Warner and Juliet's point of views, but we start with Kenji. I'm not ready. Oh my god, I'm so excited. He's gonna be introducing us to these new plot points. Okay, so I'm about 100 pages into Defy Me, and some weird shit is going on. Like, did we have the wrong impression of Warner again? Because now it's being discovered that all of the children of all of the different commanders had their memories wiped so they wouldn't remember Juliet. Her name is actually Ella. I can't remember if I talked about this, but she's not who she thinks she is. Her memory was wiped, along with all of her friends who are the children of the commanders. So Aaron, Warner, has known her since he was like very small. They've all known each other and grew up together. And then in the last couple weeks, everyone's memories started coming back to them, but I guess not Juliet's / Ella's, I guess. I don't know what to call her. So I'm like, how long has he known? Did he know the whole time? I don't think he completely knew the whole time. So now I'm like, shit. I feel like we keep being put into this cycle of like discovering something terrible about Warner, and then it's like, oh, that was actually just a trick, surprise. I feel so strung along, and like, it's just getting tired. Like, can we do something different finally now? We're like, how many books in, and like, we're still doing this? We thought he was getting Juliet to hurt a child. That wasn't real. This whole, he knew Juliet's real identity thing doesn't seem completely real now either. Also, this reminds me of Throne of Glass in a lot of ways. Maybe just because that was the last thing I read before reading the Shatter Me series, but like, I'm sensing a lot of similarities similarities. If you know, you know. I'll just say that. Okay, so we're getting some answers. It's switching between Kenji, Warner, and Juliet's POVs. So it's like 3 different split points of view. And we're not getting a whole lot of Juliet's, but we finally got a Juliet chapter that's like pretty long and substantial. She's being tortured by her mother, like her biological mother. I think her name's Evie or Eve or something. And she's a lot less of a mother and way more of a mad scientist. She was like, I created you. Your successes are my successes. Your failures are my failures. And she's feeling just not maternal in the slightest. It's so weird. And she's like telling Juliet, Ella, that she was like created as this like secondary thing to Emmeline, and Emmeline's the superior sister or whatever. And it just feels like, you know, the Powerpuff Girls, how they were like created in a lab, but then their father grew to like love them, and it was like an accident experiment. But he was like, oh my god, I created 3 little girls. Now I'm a father instead of a mad scientist. And Emmeline and Ella's mother just didn't have that same shift at all. She's crazy. She's torturing Juliet. She's trying to erase her memories again, and she's like injecting a serum into her brain, and Juliet can't feel it, but like she sees the syringe going into her temple, and it's like kind of obscene, grotesque. It's a little creepy crawly. I don't know. I feel unsettled when I read it. It's like very specific, and her mother is explaining like a lot of backstory. I feel bad for her. I feel disappointed, but Evie did let it slip that Warner is still alive. She was like, if it would have been anybody else's son, I would have had him executed, because you were not supposed to fall in love with people. Your existence was supposed to be entirely solitary. So now Ella, Juliet, whatever, is starting to get this like fueled by hope again. And now that she knows that Warner is still alive, she feels like she has something to fight for. So I think she's gonna eventually like break out of this torture chamber, maybe even kill her mom. I don't know. It's like getting tense. It's getting really interesting. I like reading Juliet's point of view the most. Kenji's also very interesting. He hooked up with Nazira. Nazira finally came around. Oh my god, it was so cute. Kenji's so obsessed with her, but Nazira doesn't want to date him because she doesn't even live there. She's like trying to create this rebel movement. A lot of like backstory of the characters is happening. It's mostly told in flashbacks by Warner and Juliet, but obviously not Kenji, because he came from a completely different background. He doesn't have any past connections to Warner or Juliet. So I want to root for her. It's like kind of picking up, kind of interesting. Everything's been like 3 stars so far, so I'm hoping we get a 4-star here soon, because the series is almost over. So yeah, go Juliet/Ella. Kill your parents. It reminds me of Dorian from Throne of Glass. Also, Anderson is not dead. Warner's father, I don't understand what that's about, but I guess we're about to find out. Guess who's feeling manipulated again? So we have a flashback from Warner's point of view where he was like visiting Juliet, and he had forgotten enough to know that her name was Juliet and not Ella. And he thought he had befriended her for the last like few months since she was imprisoned in that place. And then Anderson finds out he and her were like interacting, and he was calling her Juliet, so I know his memories were gone from that point. And then he told Warner, and he was like so pissed that he was like friends with her and potentially falling in love with her. So he said he's going to not only erase Juliet's memory of him from that time period as well as their childhood, but reprogram her to think he is her oppressor and captor, and like basically everything that was happening in the first book. So it's like I feel manipulated into like her being an unreliable narrator, essentially, without even realizing it, because her memory had not only been wiped, but reprogrammed. And that makes me wonder if what he was saying and how he was acting from her perspective in the first book even happened, because he was so awful. Like, the things he would say to her. Did he even say those things, or is that just how she remembers it? Because in the very next book we got, from his perspective, yeah, the novella, he was, like, not as awful seeming, if I'm remembering correctly. Man, I don't even know what I remember anymore. I've only been reading the series for, like, a week or two, so I'm going through it relatively quickly, but I'm forgetting so much stuff because I don't know what was real and what was imagined or reprogrammed. I feel like I've been reprogrammed. It's the next day. Hi, princess. So, Anderson died, part 2. Like, for real this time. I'm still not completely sure how he didn't die last time when Ella killed him, but Warner got to kill him this time. I'm still so confused. And it's giving Dorian from Throne of Glass. I mean, this is what Warner deserved. I always kind of hoped it would be him who did the killing, even though I don't really like Warner. Like, he's morally gray, I guess. He's not all bad. I wanted him to kill who was essentially abusing him for most of his life. Now he's going to find Juliet, and things are crazy and confusing, and there's so many time jumps and flashbacks. Juliet/Ella just ripped her mother's heart out. She found Emmeline in not like a test tube, like a human-sized test tube. She's submerged in water. She lost her her eyesight, her voice, her vocal cords disintegrated, I guess, in like the water. Her teeth and tongue as well, her mouth like permanently sealed shut. She's losing her hearing as well and also lost her sense of smell and touch. Almost all of her 6 senses are gone and she's begging Ella to just kill her. She's like, I'm already dying. But Ella is like, no, I want my sister back. Like, there has to be a way to save you. Evie, their biological mother, comes in and catches Ella like interacting with Emmeline through the tank. They're like telepathically communicating, and Evie saw that Ella got out of her shackles because Emmeline like broke them with her mind control. And so then Ella turned around and pretty much immediately just killed their mom and like ripped her heart out and held it as it died in her hands. This is like serious sci-fi. It almost reminds me of like 80s, like gory sci-fi horror thriller stuff. I don't know. I'm getting really visual images in my head, and it's brutal. It's gory. So Anderson is panicking because Emmeline, I guess, is dead. She was telling Ella how she like tried to commit sewer slide several times and it didn't work because she feels herself dying and slipping away and losing all her senses. And now everybody's like, oh my god, she died. Somehow she made it work. But Ella seems unconvinced, so they're pulling this thing several times where like they're like, oh, this character is dead for sure, 100% dead, gone completely. And then they're not. Like, Anderson's still alive. And now Kenji and Nazira show up to this place where Warner and Ella are being held hostage, not hostage, kidnapped, whatever, by their parents, essentially, Anderson and then Ella's parents. Kenji and Nazira are there to save them. They show up invisible, they got on a plane, and they found this place, and Kenji went and grabbed Ella, and Nazira is going to grab Warner. I love this. The invisible couple, they're not a couple yet, but they will be, come to rescue the main couple. Invisible couple and main couple. The way Warner got shot while making a run for it to catch up with Nazira, and Nazira gives him a second to like collect himself because he got shot through the leg, and then he was taking too long to like heal himself or whatever, I guess. And so she just picked him up. Badass bitch. She, what, over the shoulder? Warner just realizes that he wants to marry Juliet. He's 19 and she's 17. Come on, man. Child marriage, whatever. I mean, it's a dystopian society. I guess it's like regressing. Oh my god, this is so melodramatic. I guess do I forgive him? Do I like him again? I'm still confused on how he was like confessing, oh, I knew all of this whole time about your sister Emmeline and I was torturing her. But it seems like his memory was wiped of that. So why was he acting like it? I think it's like a miscommunication trope type of thing. Because his memory was wiped. He like had just then realized what actually had happened. And he was confessing it to her like he knew this whole time, but if his memory was wiped, it had to have been something that came back to him. I don't know what's going on. The timelines are so confusing. There's a lot of time jumps. There's a lot of memory wiping. I don't know when people knew certain information and when they stopped knowing that information, and then when it came back to them, it becomes kind of hairy. I don't know. I guess I don't hate him anymore because I'm just too confused too. I think Warner just about proposed to Juliet, Ella, on this plane, and Kenji interrupted them, and now Warner's getting jealous because Ella was like, I love both of you, and he's like, what do you mean you love both of us? And Ella was like, well, he's like a brother to me, like he's my best friend. Right, Aaron says, hesitating, but you don't actually love us both. That's just a figure of speech, isn't it? What's wrong with him? Why does he not? Oh my god. Men who don't have relationships outside of their romantic one are a red flag. If men don't have like female friends that they love like a sister, if they don't have like any friends that they love like a family member, or like any strong relationships with anyone else, I understand his father's relationship with him is not his fault, but like, I don't know, this guy who's isolated himself his whole life, maybe not the most emotionally intelligent partner. I'm getting way too reality with this though. This is a dystopian, crazy sci-fi romance. This is not realistic in the slightest. But gosh, I wish the relationships were, kind of. Oh my god, Ella's mother got rid of the scars on her hands from her time in the asylum. So like part of the memory wiping, you obviously have to remove all like physical memories, like scars. This reminds me so much of Throne of Glass. That's literally what happens in Throne of Glass during an act of torture, and it's like erased in a way. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So they're all in this plane escaping, and they have an engine shot. Someone's firing at them. They lose both of their engines? How are they still in the air at all? Maybe they have 4 engines. It's one of those huge planes. Also, if the engine got shot, like part of the wing would be missing. Like you go down immediately. If someone shoots your plane with a missile, like there's a huge difference between losing an engine to some kind of technical failure and your engine being freaking blown off. Those are very different scenarios, but whatever. I'm gonna suspend my disbelief. Ella suggests they jump out of the plane, but they don't have parachutes, and Azira's like, no, this is actually a good idea. We should jump now while the plane is still relatively stable. Without parachutes? Like I understand they can go invisible and like super strength, whatever, but like out of a plane? Girl. Also, Aaron's talking about how he doesn't have any friends. Kenji said 0 people skills. I'm with Kenji. I am with Kenji. It's a red flag. So yeah, they somehow were able to not die. They like slowly fell from the sky, and then they really quickly were falling from the sky, shooting down, screaming, before we pull to a sudden stop a foot above the ground. And then we fall to the ground. Like in those cartoons when they like fall off the cliff, but they're like standing there and they don't start falling until they look down and realize. This is so strange. They landed in an open field. It's about to end, but we just have like action after action after crazy thing after crazy thing after cartoonish fall after crazy thing happening. I'm an idiot. I forgot that Nazira can fly. Her power isn't just invisibility. She can also fly. That probably was what secured them. I don't pay enough attention. It's not the book. It's me. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Castle and his daughter shot them out of the sky because they couldn't tell them to land where they were because that would be intercepted. So they had to just shoot them down to make them land in the right place because they didn't know they were there. And that was the only safe place they could land. So they decided to just shoot them down. There's seriously no other way. This is crazy. Not to get all conspiracy theory, but a huge problem in this world is that the planet is like dying, climate change and everything. And scientists, my cat won't stop talking. Scientists were hopeful that with a careful, concerted effort, we could fix our Earth. Save the future. Like scientists are saying now, we still do have some time if we make the right changes. And it seems like the government, billionaires are prioritizing profits over the planet, which I think, yeah, that is a motivation, profits over planet and people. But also this government, the reestablishment, it wasn't just about profits for them. I mean, I guess it kind of is because they have an elite class as well. They didn't want the people to hope. They wanted people to think that our Earth was beyond salvation, and desperate, terrified people are much easier to control. That is an angle I never considered before. If resources are as limited as possible, the way a government and billionaires and corporations could take advantage of our labor because we just have no other choice. I mean, that's already happening. Oh my god, I'm probably overthinking this. Okay, so they knew Emmeline was like dying, so they wanted to use Ella as a replacement because Ella's like a nuclear weapon, nearly. Emmeline has different powers, but Ella is so destructive. She could just cause death immediately, which has been kind of a running theme in the series, is her destruction can be manipulated and used. Nazira said, we have no choice, we have to kill Evie. Ella's like, I already did. I love that. Oh my god, I love that. Everyone gasps. And now I say I have to kill my sister. It's what she wants. It's the only way. So Emmeline's not really dead, but everybody believed she was. Remember when somebody walked in and was like, Emmeline's dead, but Ella was doubtful? But Ella wanted to save her, and now maybe there's no other way. That's sad. There's one more chapter. I want Ella and Emmeline to be together. They had their memories wiped. They deserve better. It's so sad. How can you have one without the other? Like, I don't know. They're not twins, but like, they're like two sides to the same coin, and they want to use their powers for good. So Kenji like interrupted Warner proposing to Ella. Sorry, my eyes are getting dry. I need to wash my hair and go to bed. And Kenji was like, you need a ring. Where's your ring? Are you not going to get down on one knee? And like Warner doesn't want to do any of that. No effort. And he's like, I don't want to be so vulnerable in front of other people. Like he can do it in private, but like get down on one knee and give her a goddamn ring. Otherwise, like what are you even? This is strange. He is such an alien. He's never seen a movie. My cat is licking something somewhere and I can't figure out. No, don't eat my dress. She's ridiculous. I have this tulle Speak Now dress, and she like eats the fabric, and I don't understand why. It's literally just like tulle, fluffy fabric, and she's always like chomping it, and then I pull on it, and it's like halfway down her esophagus. Anyways, he asked her to marry him, and I got the ick so bad. Ugh. He just turned 20, and she's 17, and it's like, there's a huge difference between 17 and 20, first of all, like in maturity and learning about life. And she says yes. And like, he doesn't have a ring. And it just feels like, I don't know. She just feels like too naive. It's just so weird. Like 17. I have the ick. Yeah, me too. It ended on like a happy positive note because they threw a surprise party for Aaron, him turning 20, and they had like a cake and everything and blah blah blah. Hopeful. That's what we're fighting for, a second chance at celebrating joy because all his birthdays in his childhood were shit because his father is shit. And I don't know, I don't feel much. I have an ick from them getting engaged, and that's about it. Maybe like 3 stars again. Every single one of these. I feel like there were better ones though. Like I think at a few points I was like, maybe this could be 3.5. This is definitely a 3. It was fine. Okay, now I believe we have another Kenji novella, so I'll get on that. I'll probably listen to it while I'm washing my hair because it's, ooh, look at that separation. I don't like that. I had higher expectations. Part of me kind of wants to rate it 2.5, but I don't do half ratings because Goodreads doesn't have them, and I would just like not be able to keep track of it otherwise. But like, no, it's not been the worst one because the writing is still so much better than the first book and the second book, I think. The writing style is a lot better, and I like the fast pacing, and it's like interesting, everything, but it just feels so cheesy. I don't know. I also just like prefer Kenji and Nazira. Like, to like the secondary couple more than the main couple kind of blows. I don't know, Warner and Juliet are just like falling so flat for me right now. It's really annoying. Like, I'm just getting like tired. It's also weird to see how they like come together and like they were just like fighting like crazy. How long have they consistently been together without like having some kind of blow up fight? Obviously they can't trust each other fully, and like that's not a good foundation to start a marriage off with. But also to be 17 is just like, I understand they've known each other since they were children, but like that's why you just have long-term relationships when you're a teenager, because like your 20s are so crazy. And like, I don't know, I understand this is like dystopia land and they could die tomorrow, so they want to be together now, but like, I don't know, it's just like giving me the ick. Okay, so I finished the novella while I was washing my hair. That's why it looks kind of crazy. I forgot to put leave-in conditioner, so now it's frizzy. It's so weird how the top, like, shorter layers are, like, wavy, but then these long pieces in the back are, like, completely straight. Isn't that strange? But yeah, we'll fix that later. I took some notes, as per usual. I quite enjoyed this one. It also had a lot of plot points, like, things happening for it being a novella, which is surprising because some people skip the novellas, but it seemed like there were, like, a lot of things happening, a lot of gears turning in this one. It was important, it felt like. So we start off with Kenji being like really angry and not having an appetite and just acting weird. Then we find out Nazira actually drugged him. That's how she kept him quiet on that plane with Anderson. She was so afraid he would like not only wake up but like make any kind of noise, and then they would kill him immediately. So it was like in his best interest, but obviously she did that without his consent, and like that's questionable. I love Kenji and Nazira so much. They're my favorite couple. Warner annoys the shit out of me, especially in this book, like from Kenji's POV. There will never be a friendship between these two men, and it's really unfortunate because they both are so close with Juliet / Ella. Warner's just so controlling and has no understanding of how healthy friendships work and just jumps to the worst conclusions. Warner keeps joking about how he wants Juliet to stop being friends with Kenji and like wanting to kill Kenji, and like Juliet thinks he's joking, but Kenji knows Warner like really doesn't like him. He's annoying, jealous, controlling, and he hates sharing Juliet because Warner has no fucking friends for himself, so he expects her to have the same situation going on where he's like the center of her world, but that's so toxic. Like, if your boyfriend's your best friend, you're doing it right, but if your boyfriend is your only friend, that's a problem. I just don't like Warner. I don't know. I'm not seeing the book boyfriend obsession. Kenji though. Ooh, Kenji. Oh my god, I love him. This was still a 3 out of 5. It wasn't as bad as the last one. I do think the last one was like a 2.5. It's just, god, what an icky ending. Weird. There was just weird shit going on in that one. I wrote that I love the dynamic between Kenji and Nazira. Such cuties. Lots of huge plot points, which surprises me because it's a novella. Adam and James are being held hostage by Anderson. Castle is not in control of this rebel group anymore because they took refuge with his daughter and her wife. So they're in charge of this other rebel group. They found out that Adam and James were being held hostage, and they decided not to tell Castle. And Kenji describes it as there are too many cooks in this kitchen. Not everyone can be like the head of the rebel group. Castle kind of has taken a backseat to his estranged daughter, who they recently found and are sheltering with. It ends with like Kenji and Nazira having a moment of like maybe more communication happening. These two need to get so much better at communication, even though I love them. And they find Juliet screaming at Emmeline to stop, her sister, because they have that telepathic like communication that was established in the last book, and it just like ends there. It's like a cliffhanger ending for a novella, which I don't think has happened yet. It's not a recap of things that happened in the last book from a different perspective. It's like a whole new thing from Kenji's perspective, and he's like filling us in on, I guess, what happened between Defy Me and Imagine Me. But yeah, we don't know why Juliet is screaming or if she's in pain or what's going on, so it's ending on a cliffhanger. And then we have one more full-length novel and then just one more novella after that, and I will be done. I hope the season finale, the finale of this, is better than the majority of the series, because I just haven't been super impressed so far. It's been fine. I don't have any other thoughts. My hair is so crazy right now. Okay, I'm gonna start on a few chapters of Imagine Me. Maybe finish it today, maybe finish it tomorrow. I wish I could finish it today, but I don't think I'll be able to. So Ella / Juliet is possessed by her sister Emmeline, and in doing so, I guess they've alerted the reestablishment to where everybody is hiding out. So obviously there are some tensions. Everybody's pissed. It's stressful. That's what's been going on in the first 100 pages, pretty much. A lot of strategizing and panicking. Oh, also, Castle's daughter, Nuria, wants to, like, kill Juliet because Emmeline's trapped in there, and she's, like, a radar honing signal for the reestablishment, so that's why they found out where they are, kind of. They don't have a precise location, but they're gonna be looking for them, and they're closer to finding them than they were before. Ella/Juliet got possessed by her sister. I'm not completely sure why she did it, maybe to try to get Ella to kill her because she's so, like, desperate to die. It's kind of confusing me, but I guess we're going to figure out more. So they captured Juliet and, like, took her back to Oceania. Anderson now has control of her, and it seems like he wiped her memory again. And now she just keeps calling him master, and it's, like, disturbing. And he was like, get on your knees and say it. And it's, oh my god, I'm disgusted. What's wrong with this man? It's just disturbing. I feel like there was another update I wanted to say, but I forgot what it was. I hope to finish this tonight and give my final thoughts. But yeah, it's kind of disturbing. They, like, raided the entire camp and killed some of the people. Princess, stop knocking shit over. Warner's losing his mind because they took Juliet. Captured again. Oh, I forgot to mention they also got James back. I don't think they got Adam, but yeah, it was almost like a trade. Like, he took Juliet. They got James. You win some, you lose some. Ew, he reprogrammed her to be attracted to him. That's Warner's dad. That's her boyfriend's dad. I'm disturbed. And Anderson is, like, surprised, as if he didn't do this. He's, like, confused or something. But, like, he did that. He wiped her memory and reprogrammed her to be attracted to him. This is getting sick. Man, I hate Warner. He's getting so territorial. Kenji's trying to relate to him and make him feel better. He's like, I love her too. Like, this is misery for me as well. And he's like, every time you say you love her as well, I want to rip out your vertebrae, arteries. He wants to kill him every time he says I care for her as well, because you have no idea what it is that I'm feeling. Like, he's just so toxic and fucked in the head. He doesn't understand what friendships are and how you can love a person in a platonic way. He's just gross. Like, I really don't like Warner. And I understand his point of, like, oh, he proposed and Kenji didn't know he'd actually done it yet. And, like, that grief of what could have been now that she's kidnapped and they're separated again. But, like, Kenji feels that too because she's his best friend. And he just is too emotionally an idiot to understand that. Ew! It turned into Juliet, Ella, Anderson fanfiction. I have the ache again and it's strong. The weirdest shit just happened. Someone showed up as if they were, like, a fan of Warner, and they were bringing him food, like spaghetti or something, and there were scorpions inside of it, underneath the noodles, like primed or like trained to go after Warner specifically. But then he turned them around on the girl who brought the food and like had them about to sting her, and he was like, who sent you here? And Kenji was just like watching this in shock, and he's like, you have one last chance, who sent you here? And they were about to sting her throat, and she didn't reveal it, and then Kenji shot her. This is such a fever dream of a book. Anderson made her cut her finger off and put it in his hand. What the fuck is this book? Sometimes I don't understand how these people talk. I'm bent over, hands on my knees, gasping for breath, trying to calm down. What did you do? You what? What the hell just happened? What did you do? You? What? I'm so confused. What does that mean? Yeah, that's confusing. Did they mean, what did you do, you idiot or something? That's strange. Nazira is a badass bitch, and she also says stuff like this. Hey, Nazira says, her voice suddenly close. I have a feeling I'm about 4 months away from falling madly in love with you, so please don't get yourself killed, okay? I love her. She's such a good female character. This guy, Max, I guess he's like friends with Anderson. Anderson's trying to get him to do something to control Juliet/Ella. She's calling herself Juliet again. He's like, I can't control her. She won't listen to me like she listens to you, as he's talking to Anderson. And he's like, I can't do this. There's something about her face. I don't like the way she looks at me. And Juliet is flashing back to her mother, her adoptive mother, who like stuck her hands in boiling water or something. She was like, there's something about her face, the way she looks at me. She's not human or whatever. And it's triggering that memory in Juliet. It feels like she's about to have her Carrie moment. Like she's getting pushed to the edge. I feel like her memory is going to come back again for the final time. Because man, we are almost done. We are really close. Okay, just a few chapters left. And Warner got Juliet to remember who he is by like kissing her. Kenji was like, don't approach her, she wants to kill you. I guess Anderson's dead again, but like for real this time. So Juliet was trying to fight him, and Warner was like defending himself but not fighting back, and Juliet was getting frustrated, and then she was like overcome with this familiarity and memories kind of, and he kissed her and she remembered, and she pulls out whatever Anderson put into her wrist, some blue blinking light thing, and then she was like, Aaron, and that was the end of that. I guess that was really fast. Why didn't he just approach her in this way way at the very beginning of the series, like in the very first book, Shatter Me, when he like knew who she was, but she was like really not able to remember him for a long time until her memory started coming back in, what was it, like book 4? Why did he approach it completely differently? Why couldn't he have just like done it correctly the first time to like speed this process up? Or maybe I'm missing something, but yeah, it seemed like it was very fast this time. She remembered who he was. Max is Ella and Emmeline's father. I understand now. For a second I got confused because she kept talking about her father, and I thought only Anderson was in the room with her, and she doesn't remember anyone's name, so it's like kind of confusing without getting a visual. But it was Max, and then Emmeline killed Max, and there's this whole thing happening where like Emmeline was like making Juliet, Ella, yes. These names are too similar. Emmeline was making Juliet / Ella stronger. So it's like this Elsa and Anna type of end, like it's like this sisterly love. We still have a couple chapters to go though. Yep, this ending kind of wrecked me. Ella asks Emmeline for one more thing, and that's to take her body home. Emmeline agrees, and then Ella like drains the rest of Emmeline's strength. She's like, I'll miss you every single day. Let me take your body home. When it's done, I've ripped the tubes from her body. When I've gathered her wet, trembling bones against my own. When I've pressed my poisonous cheek to hers, what little life was left in her body. When it is done, I curl myself around her cold corpse and cry. I clutch her hollow body against my heart and feel the injustice of it all roar through me. I feel it fracture me apart. I feel her take part of me with her as she goes. And then I scream. I scream until I feel electricity sparks, lights catch fire. I scream until the ground fissures, until all falls down. And then we carry my sister home. I wish we would have gotten a little more sister background or something, because I feel not super sad, but I think that was beautifully written. I just wish we got a little more attached to this sisterhood idea, because it felt like more of a romance series to me. And now we have an epilogue that is from Warner's point of view, and I think it's just 2 chapters. Okay, it flashes to 2 weeks in the future. They've destroyed the reestablishment. Ella and Warner are getting married as teenagers. Well, she's a teenager. He's 20. Judgments aside, there's a moment that I think is supposed to be like character development for Warner. Let me find it. He sees her in her corset she's gonna wear under the dress or something. You are so beautiful, I say, unable to shed the awe in my voice. I hear it, the childish wonder in my tone, and it embarrasses me more than it should. I know I shouldn't be ashamed to feel deeply, to be moved. Still, I feel awkward, young. That's because you are. But I think that's supposed to be a moment of character development where he has like feelings now, but I just don't see it. Like, he still hates Kenji. To be fair, Kenji, I just accidentally destroyed her wedding dress because he was demolishing. Demolishing is the verb. Yep, demolition was the word in the book. Kenji was in charge of demolishing various pieces of the reestablishment, and I guess her wedding dress got caught in the crossfire, so now they have to shop for like something they can quickly just get together. I mean, if you have 2 weeks only anyways, how good was the original option that got demolished? Warner's like, oh my god, you can't wear polyester on your wedding, which is kind of fair. He's like, doesn't this place have any silk? He's still himself. I don't know, I don't see much character development. I wasn't super impressed, but let's keep going. A few more pages. Oh, Adam shows up. I feel like we haven't seen Adam at all since he completely changed as a character and like started harassing and verbally abusing Juliet. He just kind of fell off the face of the earth after that. But now he's showing up. Also, everyone's so thankful to Ella / Juliet for destroying the reestablishment. People are so excited, and they have to have security because they're way too excited to see her. They pee their pants when they see her. They throw their newborn babies at her. So they don't know how to get really good security for her, so she has to like hide from everyone. Okay, so she wants everyone else to call her Juliet other than Warner, who calls her Ella, as a nod to their shared history, how they grew up together as children, and he knew her as Ella, but everyone else knew her as Juliet. And to pretend Juliet never existed gives her dead father-in-law too much power over her. That's interesting. And she's crying over a dog because she loves it. And Warner is like, this is true joy for her. Everyone would be so shocked to see the hero of the world crying over a dog. To the world, she is formidable. To me, she is the world. Where's Kenji and Nazira, though? Did they ever actually get together? I like them so much more as a couple, and I thought they were so much better as characters. I'm a Kenji and Nazira kind of girl. Warner does not like dogs. That's the last paragraph, especially not grimy ones. He pets it reluctantly, and when I hear her laugh, I am happy. So he pets the disgusting dog to make Juliet happy. Ella. And that's the end of the full-length novel series. If the last novella isn't about Kenji and Nazira, I will riot. This was again 2.5/3. I don't know. I'll have more thoughts in a full review of all of it, but I don't know. It's not going to sit with me. I'm going to forget about this in like 2 months, so that sucks. Really cool cover though. I really like the cover designs, and I like the pacing. I love a fast-paced book. I don't think there was any fluff or bloating, which kind of happened with Throne of Glass, even though the writing was so beautiful. This had some cheesy writing, some cheesy characters, not believable romance, not very much development, unlike Throne of Glass. But man, I was turning these pages. I was entertained. Okay, now I'll read the novella after I take a bath. I was expecting more. I'm really glad they gave Kenji way more POVs in the later books because he was carrying this shit on his back. He's like the whole reason I was reading it in the first place. I think it would have been cool to see Nazira's POV because she was like the baddest bitch there is. So much more intriguing of a female character than Juliet. I don't know, they could have done a really cool thing with the whole sister thing, but they just didn't bring that in until the very end. And I feel like it would have made me cry or get emotional if it would have been introduced to us in a more developed way. I need a Kenji spinoff. What is this novella called? Believe Me? It's from Warner's point of view, not Kenji's, so I'm already not having a great time. The first 2 chapters are just the epilogue of Imagine Me, so it's like repeating. They're trying to exert control over North America and they're struggling, and Warner says rebels and revolutionaries do not make good politicians. Kind of this power vacuum dynamic. I wish it was explored a little bit more and like developed, but like it's YA, so I guess what can you really expect? But I don't know. I remember when I read The Hunger Games when I was younger, it just seemed a lot more developed and thought out politically. But yeah, it seems that Warner has a lot of knowledge about politics, obviously because his father, and I wish that was kind of explored more, like how the logistics of this is working. But yeah, they're having a hard time taking control over North America because they overthrew the government and now they don't really have the politician to take over. Juliet being president again, I guess doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but she is kind of the leader right now. They need to have like fair elections, I suppose. Emmeline controlled the weather. That's why all the birds disappeared, because it was like severe weather all the time. Well, Emmeline didn't control it. They forced Emmeline to create severe weather, but that's what happened to all the animals. And now they're back. It really wasn't that serious. It's really never that serious. No, but like it was man-made in a way, fictitious. So Juliet goes off with Kenji because they postponed Warner and Juliet's wedding. I might have already talked about that. I can't remember. Their wedding got postponed because they have too much shit to do. They don't have a leader really. Sorry, my cat will not get off me. She needs to be scratched, so I have to hold the camera down here. So Juliet goes off with Kenji to go take care of shit, and Warner is like upset because he was supposed to get married today. So he's like alone, and he's with this dog, the same dog from the epilogue. He doesn't like dogs, but now he's talking to the dog and he understands the dog's emotions because he has that power. And he's like, you need a bath. And the dog gets all excited and happy, and he's like, wait, you want to take a bath? And then he's like, for him to understand that word means he had an owner at some point, but something happened. And now Aaron is like emotionally bonding with his dog after Juliet ran off with Kenji to go figure things out. So that's gonna be like, I guess, his redemption arc is like he becomes a dog person because that's like the greenest flag in a significant other. I'm not a dog person, I'm a cat person. That should be a green flag too. But yeah, it's just Warner and dog. Kenji's gone. He was there for a second, but he took Juliet, and now we just have Warner and the dog. I wish it was Warner and a cat. That would be cool. Warner seems like a cat person. So he shows her the ring he got her, and she just like takes it from him and opens the box herself, and he does slip it on her finger, but he doesn't get down on one knee, which is like kind of an ick, but also kind of not, because I feel like, do we like that or do we not? Proposing on one knee? I feel like it's kind of, do people really do that much anymore? I don't know. I don't think I'd want someone to get down on one knee when proposing. I almost like this better. I almost roasted him for not getting down on one knee because he already was so not prepared, not doing things correctly. He didn't have a ring. He like didn't listen to Kenji at all, and now he has one, but he's still missing the knee proposal. But it's like, maybe that's fine. I don't know how I feel about that. He said his heart has grown 10 sizes in the last minute. Warner is the Grinch. He is. No, he's not. The Grinch is so much better. He said, I'm going to marry you today, and then later I'm going to make love to you until you can't remember your name. Too soon, Warner. Too soon. Okay, we are back in the usual update spot. I'm talking kind of quietly because my cat's asleep. I don't want to disturb her. That's rude. This framing is terrible. Part of my head's cut off, but what can you do? So I finished the last novella, and I took some notes. The quote, if Ella were a house, she would be a grand home, one with many rooms and doors, all of which were easily unlocked, flung open. If I were a house, I would be haunted. That's pretty funny. This is, I think, where Mafi's writing is just better. Like, I feel like there are some pretty good metaphors at times. Other times it seems a little inappropriate. Like, way back in book 1, when she used some really interesting imagery to describe a child, leashed legacy of her loins. I will never forget that as long as I live. Warner again was reminding me of an alien. Someone asked what the dog's name is, and he says he is a dog. You may call him a dog. Like, it costs $0 not to be so fucking off-putting, but also, Warner likes dogs. Remember his novella where he was feeding that dog like a Danish or something? Or a pastry? And Juliet saw him because Kenji made her invisible, I believe. She witnessed all of that. He always had a soft spot for dogs, and now he's acting like an alien around them. And then we have Warner preventing Juliet from publicly appearing and speaking to the people who are unhappy with the overthrow of the reestablishment. It's only been 2 weeks, but they're like not seeing an improvement in their quality of life. And Juliet, I guess, is really good with connecting with people in person, and she's a good public speaker, I suppose. And Warner becomes very scared for her safety. Much like Adam was in the beginning, like Juliet can handle herself. She's supposedly this really powerful person, but we just don't see that happening at all throughout the series. Like, she can tear down walls or whatever and has this insane power, but all these men keep underestimating her. He's so scared for her safety, much like Adam was in the beginning, which we all agreed was a red flag. So I don't understand why we're excusing it from Warner. Warner was just like devolving throughout this whole series. He's undeveloping. Like, he starts to not think she's a bad bitch anymore. She doesn't need him. She doesn't need him or Adam. I wrote down Warner is such an asshole. Then we have a sex scene for like an entire chapter. Juliet surprised Warner with a house, and this is where the dystopia feels less dystopian, because being a homeowner at 17 isn't even possible in this reality we are in now, let alone a dystopia. It feels a little bit of a reach, but of course this is after the overthrowing of the establishment, so I guess you can give it the benefit of the doubt. I just wish we could do that. And Kenji is going to be moving in right next door. Warner is just thrilled about this. So their wedding gets postponed. Juliet surprises him with having the wedding like a day or two after it was supposed to happen or something. Like, she ends up planning the whole thing kind of quickly, and it's a surprise to him. He thought it was going to be like weeks potentially before they were able to actually do it. So they invite James to the wedding, and Warner didn't know, obviously, since the wedding was a surprise. And James said, "Thanks for inviting me." And Warner is like, "I didn't invite," and Adam interrupts him because, like, what the fuck? Why are you such an idiot? James is a child, and Warner just seems so, like, don't say that. I don't know. It just, he is so socially unaware. I guess it makes sense because of his isolation and his, like, abused background, but it just, oh my god, he seems like such an alien sometimes. Especially around dogs, because we knew he had experience with dogs and even liked them. I guess maybe if he hasn't been around children much, that makes sense. I don't know. He got weird. Warner is concerned about the short fence between he and Kenji's property. He's like, he's gonna spend the rest of our lives tormenting me over the top of it. I love that so much. So they washed and fed the dog that Warner was interacting with in the beginning of the novella, and then they returned it to Warner on his wedding day with a collar tag that said dog, like it's joke, that's what they named him. And he's like, "I don't want it. What am I supposed to do with it?" They're like, "Give it a loving home." And it's supposed to be like this, oh, I hate everyone in the world type guy, gets a soft spot for this dog or whatever, but he already had a soft spot, so why are we going back and devolving into some kind of, you know what I mean? Like, this is the very last novella. By this point, he'd already either grown to love dogs, or we knew he already did, and why, you know what I mean? It's just so strange. They keep trying to force Warner to be a good person and, like, include this dog within that definition of a good person and become a dog person when he already was. It just feels really weird. Warner said he once saw a dog puke, eat its own vomit, then puke it up again. One time my cat ate her own puke, but she didn't, nothing happened after that. She didn't puke it up again. She just went on her merry way. And he also said he saw a dog eat its own shit. Okay, that I haven't seen. Does that happen? Kenji and Warner were working together to describe Juliet's dress as she's walking down the aisle in this backyard wedding they're having. And the reader gets such a good visual from this because Kenji is over-explaining everything and Warner is like processing it and piecing everything Kenji says together because he loves style and fashion. I think that was a really good way of getting a visual of this outfit. For example, let me just quote what was in the book. "Ella looks spun from gossamer, glowing as she glitters in the soft light. Her gown has a corseted, glimmering bodice that flows into a soft, decadent skirt. Her arms bare, save delicate, off-the-shoulder scraps of tulle that graze her skin. She is luminous. I've never seen her wear makeup, and I have no idea what they've done to her face, except that she is now so beautiful as to be unreal, her hair in an elegant arrangement atop her head, a long veil gracing her shoulders, flowing with her as she walks. She does not look like she belongs in this world, or in this dingy backyard, or in this dilapidated neighborhood, or on this crumbling planet. She is above it, above us all, a spark of light separated from the sun." This is where the writing shines, okay? Some of the plot points, some of the characters are like, this is some kind of pipe dream, or the least legacy of her loins, that's also a pipe dream. But every once in a while, she gets it. She just gets it right. Continuing on, the very end of the book just ends like this. "This is the beginning of a new chapter for all of us, man, for the whole world. This wedding is making history right now, you know that, right? Nothing is ever going to be the same." That's Kenji saying this. Ella glides toward me. Glides. I love that. Nearly within reach. It reminds me of she floats down the aisle like a pageant queen from Speak Now. I feel my heart pounding in my chest, happiness threatening to destroy me. I'm smiling now, smiling like the most ordinary of men staring at the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. Believe me, I whisper, I do. And that's the title of the book, believe me. So overall, that's a way better ending than what we got in the last full-length actual book. I knew that epilogue wasn't over. I'm glad this novella actually tied things up. It's just kind of frustrating that sometimes the novellas do it better than the full-length books. That's a little frustrating because I know there are some people out there who maybe don't even know the novellas exist, but it's like, I feel like these novellas are a very essential part of this series because sometimes things are just not clicking in the full-length books. And I did want this to be a Kenji POV novella, and I feel like it would have been a little more tolerable and not felt as long if there was a little bit of Kenji mixed in, because it was just all Warner, and he's a little insufferable in the mind, I have to be honest. But I'm still glad this novella wasn't one of the styles that's kind of common in this series where they take something that already happened in one of the full-length books and just show it from a different character's perspective. They did that, I think, once or twice with Kenji. They did it with Warner. We have like some scenes repeating just from different angles. Some people have complained about this last novella not showing the actual wedding, and I guess it was advertised kind of as a novella that shows their wedding, and it kind of just stops suddenly midway through. Personally, I feel like you can kind of infer what happens. I wasn't super invested in the romantic relationship between these two characters, so I just did not give much of a shit. Warner's POV tends to drag for me, even though this was a relatively short book. The story in general just doesn't need to be dragged on any longer. I'm so glad I'm done. Something that I wish there was more of, but then again, it's hard to say that when I feel like I'm glad this story and series has been so short. I wish they would have explored a little more the way that Warner has a good understanding of why revolutionaries and rebels don't make good politicians and the struggles of the power vacuum that's created when you overthrow a government. And I wish we just had a more developed understanding, like, of the logistics of overthrowing the reestablishment and how Warner views it because he grew up under politics. Like, they have to find a true leader now. It's not really going to be Juliet. That seemed unrealistic when she, like, overthrew a Warner's father, but he wasn't really dead, and she, like, took control of Sector 45 and she was the president. It was kind of unrealistic. So they need to find, like, an actual leader that's not the person who overthrew everything, you know what I mean? Like, she kind of is acting as leader now, but she's not going to be it forever. They need to have, like, free, fair elections. I wonder if Kenji and Nazira could hold some kind of place politically. I feel like Nazira would make such a good leader because she did grow up in that political environment, and she had been really thinking about overthrowing the reestablishment for a while, like the way she was protesting with her hair covering, and she grew up as the daughter of a supreme commander, so she knows the ins and outs of ruling. I want a spin-off series of Nazira being leader or holding some position of power, and Kenji being like her simp. He's so in love with her. Oh my god. Like, she gets it, you know? I feel like she has that kind of understanding that Warner does, but more of a inclination to lead. She's been working and wanting this for a very long time. And Juliet, she's kind of sporadic and inconsistent for one, but also she didn't grow up really knowing what the hell was going on. She didn't even know who she was for most of her life. So I still would have appreciated Kenji and Nazira being the main characters instead, but then I don't think you would have even needed a Warner and Juliet because they're just so flat and one-dimensional. But what can you do? I feel like they deserve a spin-off. I know that's a popular opinion because I've seen a lot of people say that, but I feel like I go so hard for Kenji and Nazira, even more than most people. Nazira is just so much more interesting than Juliet, which is so weird because she barely got any screen time. And Kenji, of course, his POVs were superior, in my opinion. I think he was just like way more complex and developed, which is so weird as a secondary character. Overall, this was an improved ending, and it was a solid 3 out of 5 stars instead of like a 2.5, kind of like some of the previous books more towards the end. I think the last 2 full-length novels I rated like 2.5. Not a huge fan. So yeah, that's me finishing the entire Shatter Me series. Look, these were fast reads. I'm glad I read them because they did kind of puff up my reading goal for the year. I'm a little bit behind anyways. They were very quick and fast-paced. I appreciate a fast-paced novel, especially coming out of such a slow-paced, character-driven series like Throne of Glass. But man, I have had a rough experience with some of the writing, some of the characters, and a little bit of the plot. I still feel like there's holes. We never really got full closure of what happened to Warner's mom. I really thought they were gonna like find her in an asylum because we never saw a body and things were like weird there. I feel like there's a plot hole. I don't know. I really thought they were gonna develop more about his mother. I feel like it just could have been so much more interesting if they would have developed these characters more, but then it would have been longer. And I'm not sure I could suffer through something super long that kind of introduces the series with the phrase leash legacy of her loins. I think it would have been just harder to get through. Longer novels, it's tricky. I don't know. This is one of those series that I don't like hate, but it's a little bit below average. It's not as good as most of the stuff that I've read recently. So that's my review. I would love to hear your thoughts on this series down below, why you might love it or hate it. You know, I feel kind of in between, so I'm not gonna get offended if you disagree with me in either way. Like if you think it's way worse than I'm making it out to be, or if you think it's way better. I'm just a little bit indifferent. Some of the novels, yeah, I was like, this is getting fucking ridiculous. I have the ick a little bit, but overall, not terrible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what other types of reading vlogs you might want to see. If you want to follow me on my Instagram, it is right here. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, that is right here. I will see you all very soon for another video, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye, guys.